Daredevil Episode 3, Rabbit in a Snowstorm. This is definitely a fun episode to watch because it was similar to the first episode where we got to see Matt and Foggy actually work a case. It was obviously far more entertaining because with it being the third episode in, we've been introduced to the villains and the heroes, like, who we like and who we kind of hate. Um, and we got to kind of see them all come together in this episode where in the first episode it was announced that Fisk wanted to start a case. He basically wanted to start a file on the team, Matt and Foggy, and kind of just keep a file on them to do whatever, illegal activities they want in the future. So they really established that in this episode where they go to him, and I love that scene. It was um, a very interesting scene. It was very intense, and it's like, Matt kind of knows what's going on. It's like, this guy comes in, he won't tell us, his name or anything. It's like, it's, and Mr. And then he just gives the company name. And I love his Matt's reaction to that because it was like, that's not what I was asking. It was just very interesting. He wasn't really taking his crap. It was like, I don't really give a crap what you're offering or who you work for. You won't even tell me your name. I don't, we don't want to work for you. And I just love that. I thought it was really cool. And he decides that he kind of has to in order to get his certain answers when he follows him. Um, I can't remember the guy's name in the suit. I don't know if they've even actually said his name yet. But, he follows him. He gets sort of the ticking of his watch, which I thought was really cool. And that was kind of like his signature thing throughout the episode where he would know, like, okay, he comes in, he hears the tick. And, and even by the end of the episode, he realized that even helping the woman, the first juror kind of get out, they just found something on someone else. And it's like, it seemed like he felt like he failed by the end of the episode. Like, crap, I helped this one woman and then just went to someone else. And it just didn't really matter. Like, they ended up having a hung jury. And that was really just his way to escape without any, sort of legal means. Although I feel like it was an odd ending with the whole hung jury thing because I guess they didn't want to take the chance of, having it be guilty just in case. Although I don't think that could have possibly happened if those people really did kind of follow the rules of the law. Like you have one testimony from someone who says like the defendant was nice the whole time and she only saw the fight kind of afterwards, and then the people, like everyone else that was involved in the fight who were actually beat up, wouldn't decide to say a single thing. So it's like, I don't really understand. Like, maybe I just completely missed it and it made perfect sense, and it just flew right over my head. But I just didn't get why they kind of even needed to work anyone else. But it did give the guy the chance to really just take off. Like, that was his opportunity. And of course, Daredevil kind of came in and we had an awesome fight scene at the end of the episode. It seems like that's how they kind of bookend the episodes, or at least end the episode. It's like, here's some great story and this and that, something went wrong, and fight. And that's just how the episodes are going to go, which I definitely don't mind. The action scenes are really cool. I've even made a note of this. The first little action scene we got, the guy who threatened the first juror who ended up getting excused, that guy looked like Leonardo DiCaprio to me. Like, he looked, like, obviously slightly different, didn't look exactly like him, but facially speaking, that guy, like, as soon as I saw him, I'm like, if he was, like, skinnier, admittedly, he would probably look just like Leonardo DiCaprio. It was, like, really weird seeing that. I'm like, he has to get that all the time. Like, it stood out so much to me. It was weird. I'm like, that's like Leonardo DiCaprio and Daredevil or something. But I just wanted to make a note of that because it was so hard not to notice. And like I said, I put it in my phone because I thought I might forget. But fortunately, those are like the two fight scenes. So it was kind of easy to call back on that because it's the only other fight scene. But that was a cool little one too. And I love that when he was like, he had to tell him not to get up twice because obviously, you punch me and push me to the ground. I'm not going to listen to you. I don't who that for you, like a guy covering most of his face up. I'm gonna get up and punch you in the face, and obviously that failed, but the fight was definitely cool at the end. And I love this fight because we actually got to see him kind of go toe to toe with someone who really has skills. Like, he did that in the first episode too, technically. I mean, the guy definitely had some skills, but I feel like his skills were different. Like, he didn't know martial arts like the guy in this episode. Like, in the opening scene, when the two guys were gonna take him on, he's like, hey, he like ducked down like a little. He was doing like some freaking rabbit punches to those guys, and it was just like some Fist of Fury type stuff. Just like boom, just taking people down. So it was actually cool to see him, to see Daredevil go up against a guy who actually knew, at least seemingly he knew like some form of martial arts, and he was actually, countering or blocking or reversing, which I guess is very similar to countering, some of his moves. So it was definitely awesome. I really loved that fight. And of course, the ending to that was really, really crazy. Like, he gives up Fisk, which I thought was simple enough. It's like, okay, yes, no one says his name, no one gives up his name. It's kind of like the cardinal rule. If I trust you enough to give you my name, you don't give me up to anyone who's trying to come after me. And he did. And he kind of explains why that's not a good thing. He won't only kill you, he'll kill, like, it's like full on, like, just family murders. Like, he will destroy everyone that you know just to make an example out of you and let everyone else know. You say my name, this is what happens. I kill you and I kill everyone you know. And that's how that stuff's going to play out. And honestly, it was another weird thing to me is that he killed himself, which I didn't think would make any sort of difference. Like, if Daredevil goes after them, I feel like it wouldn't make much of a difference. He'd still have to get the name from someone, but I guess it would be a lot more obvious if he got it, from the guy who, just up and disappeared rather than the guy who's dead. Although, I think his biggest fear was that he didn't want to die kind of the Fisk way of dying. Like, he knew he would be tortured to the point where he couldn't take it, and he just ended himself. And that was very unexpected. I didn't see that one coming. And he's like, you should have just killed me. And then he just slams his head into the thing, and it was just crazy. Like, I was watching it, and I'm just like, oh my goodness. Like, he just went right into it, and obviously, Matt was completely shocked. He was just like, he was about to say like Jesus, I think, and he was like, and he couldn't even finish it. And he was just completely stunned. He had no idea, really what to do because he hasn't been in that situation, in his time as being Daredevil. So he really came across someone dying, like not just dying, but like killing themselves out of fear for this bigger, badder threat. And that's going to be something that I really do hope sticks with his character, at least for a couple episodes where he kind of reflects on that. Like, this is who I'm dealing with. If the person I had to take down, killed himself out of fear, then the person I'm trying to go after must be like, far beyond what I'm, really thinking right now is just like this big criminal. It's got to be way beyond that. So I do hope it sticks with this character for a little while, because I think it'll kind of change his tactics up, at least temporarily. I mean, obviously, he doesn't have much of a choice but to go after Fisk in any way, shape, or form that he can. But I think it might stick with him. This might allow him to get into, sort of going after Fisk in a specific way, or in the way that allows him to really take Fisk out. But I thought that was really cool. We also got some really great, another great startup point for Karen, and we even got introduced to another character. And I was wondering how they were gonna incorporate him into the story, and they kind of all blends together by the end of the episode, where this writer who we get to meet, who kind of has connections, or at least one connection, and he tends to get information, and he knows something's going on where there's a new player in town who's obviously Daredevil, but he wants to, write this piece, and he's, like, that could honestly be like a whole movie in itself, like a writer sort of just down on his luck, working in newspaper and stuff like that. So a lot of issues going on. His wife is in the hospital for something obviously serious. It's fortunately not life-threatening, so she can get better. Like they mentioned, she was up for like half an hour, so it is something obviously serious enough, but he has to work and kind of get enough money to keep her in the hospital and kind of keep their insurance going, just to keep her in there as long as he can. And then he finally gets the big break that he's looking for, where he can go back to kind of the big pieces that he wants to write. And although it's not on Daredevil, he does have something really huge with Karen and her not signing the disclosure agreement, or I guess the new agreement, because she technically, broke the disclosure agreement by kind of spreading the word around. But I'm excited to see how that one plays out. I'm actually really curious as to whether or not this guy is going to end up kind of doing that story, and he'll help Karen. He'll end up helping her help the family of the guy that ended up dying, because she, of course, went to his wife, and she'd already signed it to really protect herself and her kids, and that makes perfect sense. But Karen is kind of on her own. I mean, I'm sure she has parents and stuff like that, obviously, but she's, as far as we know in the show, she's kind of just on her own inside of Hell's Kitchen. Like, it's her, and then she has like Matt and Foggy as like friends and co-workers, but really that's it as far as we know. So she might have a much stronger drive because she doesn't have to worry nearly as much. So she's gonna kind of be working with him, and they'll kind of expose everything with her company, which most likely will be tied into the I forget all the company names, even though they just did it. I know hers was like Allied something, like Allied Corporations or something like that. And then, of course, the other one is like the Global whatever. And they're probably like the exact same thing. I mean, the Global one she mentioned was like, it's a multi-share of a offshore company, which is a subsidiary of this multi thing. And all that basically says is this is a load of crap, and it's just a bunch of fake stuff, and these are bad people. So I don't know how that's going to play out, but it should be really interesting. And I think that's going to be a very interesting emotional side of the series as things kind of go on throughout the season, because that is the sort of real human aspect. Like, she feels responsible for having this person killed, and also his wife does too, which I thought was an interesting thing, where that was kind of Karen's whole point, was like she wanted to help and expose this thing, and she felt like she got her coworker killed, and the wife felt the same way, because she said, if you think something's going on with the numbers, you have a responsibility to kind of fix it and expose, whatever's going wrong. And so now, they're in this same sort of boat, admittedly, obviously different as far as, oh, I got a coworker killed and my husband was killed, and I feel like I got him killed. But it'll be cool to see if she's able to get back in touch with her, because she was moving, so she's obviously moving like out of the city, possibly out of the state. But it would be nice if things did work out and she was able to say, hey, I know this isn't gonna bring them back or whatever, but we at least expose them, and it'll be sort of the emotional, more human side of things, really, because there won't be any like crazy action scenes and stuff like that. It's just, we kind of have to expose this for what it truly is, and then that'll kind of be the other more relatable, admittedly, storyline in the series, paired with Daredevil and him just kicking butt and flipping and zip lines and nunchucks and stuff like that, once that kind of comes into play. But I think it was definitely a fun episode to watch. It was, like I said, really cool to see them actually go through a case once again, and also this time it was actually for a bad guy, which they knew he was a bad guy. Like, it was just like when Foggy was interviewing him, it was really weird, and he's like saying all these specific things, and it's like, were you verbally or physically threatened and stuff? He's like, which one would sound better? And he's like, excuse me, and stuff like that. So it was definitely a fun episode to watch. I'm excited for the next one. I gotta head to sleep because it's like 3:30 in the morning, but I'm definitely excited to get to the rest of this season. I think it's really gonna be fun. I can't wait to see him really get to like the next level where he gets his costume. Although I love this one, and that's gonna kind of be the hard thing for me, because I do think this costume is actually pretty awesome, because it covers so much of his face, and it's gonna be so weird transitioning from that to the typical costume, because it's like, oh, I won't. For me, admittedly, I don't know if it's gonna look as cool, because I mentioned this, I think, in the very first episode review. It just sounds like this cool sort of blind samurai type look to me, and that's just, every time I see it, I'm like, that just looks really cool. Like, it covers his entire face, and it makes me wish that was like the normal costume, even if it was red. If it covered like his whole face and he didn't have like well, the points would be fine and all that stuff. It's just like, man, if it completely covered his face and he didn't have like any of the little eye sockets at all, it would just be really cool. Like, it would just be just complete blank, and he's just like beating people up. Also, it kind of has the bandana thing going on a little bit, which I always find really cool, and that might be because of like Street Fighter and Metal Gear, honestly. But I just like it. I'm sure it'll last probably like half the season. Admittedly, it's already been 3 episodes, and I don't think he's gonna do that until he really gets into like the next stage of things. And I don't know if he's gonna end up training with anyone else to kind of get even better with his skills. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'm definitely loving it. I'm excited to get into the rest of this season sometime this week. I'm hoping I can do it this week and kind of keep watching a bunch of episodes. But I definitely love this one. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about it. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And what do you guys think about Karen kind of going off on this sort of, whole separate storyline where she wants to really get revenge and expose this company for what it is? Because I'm really excited for it. I think it'll be a great parallel storyline, which admittedly I'm sure it'll just end up blending into like Murdoch and Foggy's storyline, and they'll realize what she's doing and stuff like that. But for now, at least I have to assume, at least for like 2 or 3 episodes, it's just going to be her own storyline. And her and this writer will be working together trying to expose things, and she'll give him info. He'll probably get some info from some of his sources and stuff like that. But like I said, I think it's going to be a really cool parallel that is like the real human connection, unless, you guys are watching, you guys have like super senses and no martial arts as well. Congrats, I'm jealous. But for most people, I think the exposing a corrupt company that really killed someone and tried to shut up, his family and the other person involved is definitely the more relatable storyline compared to the superhero storyline. But I think with all that being put into one show, it'll actually make it very, very entertaining. And once they do start to cross over, it should be interesting, because who knows if Karen will get herself in more danger trying to expose this, because it's this giant illegal company, and I'm sure they have a bunch of stuff going on. So we got Fisk doing his thing, who I probably should have mentioned this because it is important. We actually got to see him. It was a tiny scene though, so that admittedly there wasn't like we saw him, but I think we all knew he was in the show. Like, even if you didn't know the actor or what he looked like, and I didn't, it was still just like a tiny little scene that made him seem very weird also, because he, like, when he was looking at the lady, they held that for like a little too long for me, and I'm like, he just looks weird. He's just looking at her in a weird way, and he's like, it makes me feel alone. And then he just kept that look, and then he just looks back at the painting, and I was like, that was just sort of a weird little ending to that scene. Like, it was normal when the woman was talking, and then he was just like, it makes me feel alone. That's what it was like. It was weird to me, but I know he's going to be a crazy villain, so I'm definitely excited for it. Like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about it though, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.